Palace Council traces a murder that leads a young writer, although he ages through the story, and the young woman who wants to be a writer, who also ages through the story, to a conspiracy that affects the highest levels of the government in the United States. Most of the story is told through the eyes of two major characters, although there are a lot of important minor characters as well. One of the major characters is Eddie Wesley, whose father is a prominent preacher, powerful in the civil rights establishment, and Eddie wants to be a novelist, but he ends up being swept up in the politics of the 50s and 60s. Indeed, he becomes a big John Kennedy backer and actually works in the White House for a while in the novel. The woman he loves, whose name was Aurelia, is also involved in politics through the family into which she marries, a big Republican family. I hope the reader has the sense from fairly early on that the mystery that the book involves, a mystery that begins with the murder of a prominent Wall Street lawyer, the mystery won't be able to be resolved until somehow the two put their differences aside and manage to work together. Palace Council includes a number of scenes with people who are real historical characters, and some of them, like Richard Nixon, are actually major characters in the story. But there are others. Lyndon Johnson, John Kennedy, Langston Hughes plays a significant role in the book. Martin Luther King makes a brief appearance, and there are even some minor CIA people who a lot of people wouldn't have heard of, who also make appearances in the book and whose names and backgrounds I also tried to get right. For me, that was part of the fun of writing it, to write a thriller that involves real people doing pretty much the things they really did, saying pretty much things they really said, was for me as a history buff not only a lot of fun, but it lent a discipline, I think, to the writing itself, that I couldn't just invent every aspect of each character, that I had to be disciplined enough to make sure that when Richard Nixon spoke, he spoke in a recognizable Nixonian voice and said the sorts of things that Richard Nixon really would have said. The other thing that was fun about writing a novel about that period is that I could return to some of the characters from my first two novels and see what they were like when they were younger, because I myself was wondering what they were like when they were younger, and I know some of my readers have. So for example, in my second novel, New England White, one of the characters, the minor characters, who was most interesting to a lot of readers, was a woman named Mona Vesey, who lived in France, who was the mother of the protagonist of New England White. So in Palace Council, we get to meet Mona when she was younger and learn a little bit about how she became the woman that she was later on. She's not the major character in Palace Council, but it's been kind of fun for me to discover what some of these characters were like.